Welcome back. This is Flying the Flabob Express, Part 2, a briefing on how we actually fly the grand old lady. Here are the numbers, in one place. Takeoff 45 over 2700. Climb 36 over 2400. And remember, the supercharger is fixed gear, so she acts like a normally aspirated engine. You lose about an inch of manifold pressure for every 1,000 feet you climb. You have to keep pushing the throttles up to hold 36. 120 knots is a good cruise climb speed for engine cooling. Level off, accelerate, then set less than 30 inches and 20-50. 28 inches gives you about 150 knots true, at 100 gallons an hour. 27 costs you only about 5 knots, and drops you to 90 gallons an hour. After 2 minutes at cruise power, mixtures to auto lean. In the climb, the checklist calls boost pumps off, and you do that one at a time. Checking fuel pressure stabilizes before you kill the second one. And if you're going to use the aux tanks, burn the mains down for 30 minutes first to leave room for return fuel, and turn the boost pumps on before you move those selectors. One curiosity worth knowing. In cruise, your gear hydraulic pressure gauge will read 0. That's normal. The gear is held up by trapped pressure, with the handle in neutral. If you see a slight reading 2 to 500 psi, that just means a small leak is letting the gear sag a little. Re-raise it, and it'll read 0 again. Planning descents is critical in any big radial engine airplane. It is imperative to always have the engine driving the propeller, not the other way around, which is exactly what happens if you simply pull the throttles back. That does terrible damage to the main bearings. The rule: no fewer inches of manifold pressure than hundreds of RPM. Our cruise and descent RPM is 20-50, so you cannot come back below 20.5 inches. We use 21 to stay on the safe side. For some reason we call this 20-20. So when the PF commands set 20-20, he means 21 inches and 20-50 RPM. There's an additive. That minimum goes up with airspeed. Add 1 inch for every 10 knots over 100. So at 140 knots indicated, your minimum is 21 plus 4. 25 inches. Here's the arithmetic. Take the altitude you have to lose, say 5,000 feet. Figure a descent ground speed of 180 knots, 3 miles a minute. At 500 feet a minute, that's 10 minutes, and 10 minutes at 3 miles a minute is 30 miles. It works out to a factor of 6. Whatever thousands of feet you have to lose, multiply by 6. That's your distance to start down. 5,000 feet, 30 miles. The gear helps. The flaps don't help much because of the flap speed limits. It never ceases to amaze how quickly you can find yourself high, fast, and out of good ideas. If you do get high or fast, command set 1919. 1900 RPM, 19 inches, to get back in the slot. Then return to 2020. The DC-3 is a hydraulic airplane. Very little is electric, just the starters, the radios, and importantly, the feather pumps. Gear, flaps, cowl flaps, brakes, everything moves under hydraulic pressure and then is held in position by trapped hydraulic pressure. That's why the gear and flap handles live in neutral. Not down, not up. Neutral. In cruise, on the ground, everywhere except the moment you're actually moving them. Now, when she was designed, retractable gear was so new that the engineers were convinced pilots would somehow raise the gear on the ground. And what they built is ingenious, and complicated, and easy to screw up. External gear pins lock her on the ground, but there are also internal pins. We call them the spades, that you lock and unlock from the cockpit, through the latch lever on the floor by the captain's seat. That lever has 3 positions: flat on the floor with the ring over it. Positive lock. The spades are mechanically locked. Halfway up, about 30 degrees. Spring lock. The spades are held by springs only. And full up, about 60 degrees. Unlocked. The spades are pulled out. Here's the clever part. Under the floor, the same cable that runs to the spades is also tied to a rod. On top of that rod is the catch. And the catch lies between 2 pieces bolted to the gear handle. The dog, forward, and the shoey, aft. When the catch is up between the dog and the shoe, the gear handle physically cannot move up. The catch is blocking it. Only when you pull that latch lever all the way up does the rod pull the catch down, and a spring snaps the dog and shoe together so the catch can't slip back in. Now, and only now, the gear handle will go up, which gives you the one rule you must never forget. There is never a time when you just reach down and pull up on the gear lever. It won't even move. You pull the latch lever first. Always. And when you return the gear handle to neutral, the dog and shoe open, the catch rises back between them, and the latch lever drops from unlocked to spring lock, where it will sit patiently for the whole flight. Gear down. The PF calls gear down landing checklist, and the PM works it. First, and this matters, he checks two things before he touches the gear lever: airspeed below 135, and the latch lever in spring lock. Why check the latch? Because if somebody has stepped on that lever getting in or out of the seat, and the ring clip has trapped it in positive lock, then the spades are already locked down. Before the gear is down, the slots they're supposed to go into aren't there yet. Lower the gear now, and you will damage the spades. So, airspeed, latch, then gear lever, full down, watch the system pressure fluctuate and settle back to 950, and watch the gear pressure come up to match it. Handle to neutral. Green light. Latch to the floor, secure it with the ring. Then both pilots open their windows. Hold on to your hats, your glasses, headsets, and look out at the wheel. And the PM announces, and I want you to memorize this: gear down, pressure up, handle neutral, green light, positive latch, I have a wheel. And the PF answers, I have a wheel. Now, when she won't behave. Most gear screw-ups leave the catch trapped underneath the dog and shoe, unable to get back up between them. The fix is simple. Pull the dog forward against its spring, and the catch rises back into place. We call that tripping the dog. Hydraulic failure? She retracts forward, so she free falls aft and down, helped by the air load. There's even a compensating strut to keep her from slamming down too fast. Put the handle down. If she hangs up, pull some G's to start it. And from the supplemental flight manual, she may be landed safely whether or not the spades are engaged, provided the gear is fully down. Hydraulic pressure is 850 to 900, and the gear lever is down. Max flap speeds: a quarter 135, a half 99, more than a half 97. Plan to be at pattern altitude, gear down, quarter flaps, 90 knots, 25 inches and 2050 before you enter the pattern. From pattern altitude, set 2020 and start down. Half flaps, come back to 85. Three-quarter flaps, full flaps, 80 knots, at Flabob 75. The approach is very flat compared with airplanes where you can pull the power all the way back. If you have PAPI, a normal approach shows at least 3 of 4 red, maybe all 4. On short final, about 500 feet, take a quick peek at that green gear light. Good time to check gear pressure too. If it's crept down below system pressure, command give the gear a shot, and the PM cycles the handle down and back to neutral. Keep 2020 until about 50 feet, then smoothly bring the throttles to idle between 50 and 20. Call props up. The PM advances them. Because the approach is flat, only a small flare is required. Keep your focus on the far end of the runway, not just under the nose. Keep her descending. The air oil struts absorb a surprising amount of energy. It's very forgiving. It'll look like you know what you're doing. If you try to hold it off, you will bounce. If you bounce, pin the nose down on the second touchdown. If you bounce really high, go around, eyes far down the runway. Correct the center line with immediate but small rudder inputs. Heels on the floor. No braking. As you decelerate through 50 knots, the PM calls it, and now you fly the tail down. Smoothly all the way until the yoke is fully aft. That plants the tailwheel with authority and gives you excellent directional control. Once the tail is firmly down, light braking if you need it. Go easy, they're sensitive. At your exit, slow to taxi speed before you turn and unlock the tailwheel. Smile, you just flew a DC-3. Propellers. 4 forces fight over each blade. Normal engine oil pressure drives the blades toward flat pitch. Aerodynamic pressure also drives them toward. The prop governor ports oil to the aft side of the dome piston, driving them toward CORs. And the feather pump, a big 3 horsepower electric pump, increases that pressure further, past a cam stop, all the way into feather. The governor works on flyweights. Cables from your prop levers set spring tension. If the prop overspeeds the setting, the flyweights fly out, opening a valve that sends oil to the low RPM side of the piston. A cam stops the governor from taking RPM below 1200. Now normal feathering. You push the feather button in. An electric holding coil keeps it there. The feather pump runs, driving oil past the cam stop and pushing the blades against their physical stops, full feather. About 9 seconds. When the blade hits its stop, the oil has nowhere to go and pressure builds. At 600 psi, a pressure switch cuts power to the holding coil. The button pops out and the pump stops. Unfeathering is the reverse. You hold the button in manually, pressure climbs above 650, which overrides the spring in the distributor valve and sends that high-pressure oil to the front of the piston, driving the blades out of feather. Maximum air start speed is 138 knots, because if your governor has failed, the prop sits at 18 degrees, and at 138 it will windmill at 2800 RPM. Any faster could damage it. Now the failures, and pay attention. If the holding coil doesn't work, and the button won't stay in, hold it in with your thumb. Release it manually when she's feathered. If the button does not pop out when the prop reaches feather, this could kill you. Do not assume it will work as advertised. If it stays in, the pump stays on, and the prop comes back out of feather. Pull that button out, and if the button comes off in your hand, yes, it happens. With the prop feathered, shut off the generator switches in the battery. No current means the holding coil releases and the pumps stops. Then restore power, watching the prop to be sure it stays feathered. If it doesn't pop out, you continue the flight without electrical power. The DC-3 is an underpowered airplane to begin with. If you lose an engine at a critical point, takeoff, low altitude, correct performance is vital. First step, fly the airplane. Simultaneously, keep her straight with rudder. Bank 3 to 5 degrees into the good engine. We call that raising the dead. Push the throttle up on the good engine. Maintain a minimum of 84 knots and accelerate to vice 95. Second, gear up. She will not fly on one engine with the gear down. I'll say that again. She will not fly on one engine with the gear down. Then identify. Dead foot, dead engine. The foot that isn't doing any work is pointing at the engine that isn't doing any work. Then verify, and you verify before you feather anything. Close the suspected throttle, the suspected prop, the suspected mixture. Touch each one, announce it, get agreement. This is the bad throttle, I agree, and then feather. Notice the order. Fly, clean up, identify, verify, feather. Not one step of that is optional, and not one step of it happens out of order. These are the numbers. Know them cold, not on a card in your pocket, but in your head. V1, V2, and rotation are all the same number in this airplane. 84 knots. Vice, your best single-engine rate of climb, the speed you're reaching for when you raise the dead, is 95. VMC is 77. Stall is 69. Normal pattern climb 105. Cruise climb 120. Downwind 90. Base 85. Final 80. And a Flabob short field final is 75. Maneuvering speed runs from 105 light to 115 heavy. Gear operating speed is 135. Gear extended and never exceed is 190. Flap limits, and these bite people. A quarter flap 135. A half 99. Anything more than half 97. Max takeoff weight and max landing weight are the same. 26,200 pounds. 18 soles maximum, and that's an insurance limit. 2 Pratt & Whitney 1830-92s. 1,200 horsepower a side. 65 feet long, 95 feet of wing. Post-flight. Run the shutdown checklist. Note the timing on the fluid emergency shutoff switches. Fuel, oil, hydraulic. You close them after the mixtures go to idle cutoff, but before you shut off the master mag and the battery. Those valves need electrical power to close. Give them time. That's also what helps prevent a future hydraulic lock. The checklist calls gear and flaps. Split. That means gear handle down, flap handle up, and leave them there while she's parked. That frees the hydraulic fluid from being trapped, so it can expand and contract as the day warms and cools. Have someone briefed to get out and install the chocks, the gear pins, and the rudder lock. And one pilot stays in that cockpit guarding the brakes and rudder until all three are in. And the oil, the best time to check it is 20 to 30 minutes after shutdown. That's the most accurate reading you'll get. So, what do you take away from all this? Latch lever first, always. Never just reach down and pull up on that gear handle. 20/20 in the descent and the factor of 6 to get you down early, because she hates to slow down. And you do not want to be high, fast, and out of good ideas. Dead foot, dead engine. Fly first, clean up, identify, verify, then feather. And watch that feather button pop out. Keep the nose pinned on takeoff. Fly the tail down on landing. Stay off the brakes and have patience with yourself. She has her idiosyncrasies. It has been an honor to fly the grand old lady. Now go fly her well, and when you shut her down and step out onto the ramp, smile. You just flew a DC-3.